What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your Tuesday touchdown. I am your host, JTM, and this is nothing personal. It's just Bills. I got my guy in the building with me, the former, as we like to call it, NFL pedigree around these parts. Former NFL running back James Mallory. James, what's going on, my man?
What's up? What's up, man? JT, you know we back at it, man. You know you can't take no week off. You know we can't take a week off. You can say it all you want. We ain't taking a week off.
I've been saying I'm gonna take a week off for like the last 3 weeks, and it just hasn't happened yet, because every time I say I'm gonna take a week off, something happens in Bills news, and I have to come talk to you guys about it. I'm not sure. I think Muki may be on a little late today. We'll see if Muki gonna hop on. I told him a little late today, so that may be my fault. But either way, we got a good lineup today. We're gonna get into obviously these Jordan Poyer contract situation. This is probably the first big contract situation that we've probably seen in Buffalo, and I think in probably the Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane era. We haven't really seen too much of this, which it's about due, right?
Yeah, it's part of the business. So, hey, what's this, year 6?
Yeah, year 6.
Yeah, and this the first real contract dispute. Happens. It's business.
Right. So we're gonna talk about that today. We'll get into that. We're also gonna get into obviously, we heard about the untimely death of Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins this week. There was some not so great things said in the media. Obviously, that we all know about the Adam Schefter tweet, and then obviously the comments by Gil Brandt, which I don't know if you guys have not heard the comments by Gil Brandt. If you thought the Adam Schefter tweet was bad, Gil Brandt puts that tweet to shame. Now, I actually have that whole clip here tonight for those who haven't heard it, and we're going to discuss that because I think it's very important to start discussing as fans, as people in general, how we treat these players. And I think it's very important to discuss tonight while you're on James tonight to talk about, are we dehumanizing athletes, not just football players, but athletes in general, just because they're athletes. So we'll get into that a little bit. And then we're also going to talk about Rachel Bush. I know you have some interesting thoughts on Jordan Poyer's wife, Rachel Bush, and how she's handling negotiations. And I think I have some points about that too. So we'll get into that a little bit. But obviously, first things first this week. Obviously, the big news out of Buffalo last week was, it's funny, the very next day after we talked about it in the show, wide receiver Stefon Diggs ends up getting his contract extension from the Buffalo Bills, and it puts all that other talk to rest. And $104 million. It is a massive deal. It locks Stefon Diggs into Buffalo through year 2027. And James, what did you think? $104 million extension. It's mostly a year to year after 2 years.
Yeah. I'm not too mad about it, man. I'm excited that he locked in and he's going to be here. I mean, I think highly of him. I was scared of that 30 number that was being thrown out there. And I'm like, hey, this will be that. Let him go. That was my fear, that 30. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as long as that number is fair, which I think is more than fair, actually, what people are not talking about, he took actually a discount when you really look at it. He could have got way more in the open market in a couple of years, to be honest with you. But it just shows the culture that they built. He took a discount, he's staying here, and I think that number is more than fair.
I think basically what it showed is, for me, it showed that he valued winning. Obviously, if you guys follow the Stefon Diggs contract situation, Tyreek Hill, I should say. We know that him and the Chiefs Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs had some parameters set up, and obviously with the Devontae Adams deal and those other things that happened, it raised the number where the Chiefs can no longer afford Tyreek Hill. I know a lot of people worry, for very good reason, that this possibly could happen with Stefon Diggs. Well, it didn't happen. It was never even a thing. And Brandon Beane said that, quote unquote, contracts get done when they're supposed to, and obviously the Bills felt like this was supposed to get done sooner than later. The man got paid. So, I mean, I'm happy to have him back. I think it says a lot about Brandon Beane, and once again, we've always had this conversation on this show and just in general about how you treat your players, how you deal with agents, because at some point you're going to deal with that player's agent, you're going to deal with that player's marketer, you're going to deal with that player's representative somewhere else down the line with another player. And obviously Brandon Beane, he checked another bullet point off his his board this offseason. So now Diggs is locked in. And it brings me to the question, do you think that puts anybody else in jeopardy? Because obviously this is a lot of money, and obviously the TV money is going to kick in around 2024. But do you think this puts anybody else that's up for extension next, possibly in some hot water or not getting one?
Absolutely. Who the person is, we don't know yet. But
Right.
I definitely think, you can't pay everybody, unfortunately. So somebody's going to be on the short end of the stick. We don't know who, but somebody not going to get paid. We can speculate all day, but somebody's going to be out.
Well, yeah, there comes some tough decisions. Obviously, after this year, Dawson Knox is up for extension, is up for a contract. Tremaine Edmonds is up for a contract. Jordan Poyer is unrestricted free agent. Obviously, we know his situation. We'll talk about that a little later tonight. And Ed Oliver is up not this year, but the following season. So there's going to be some decisions that got to be made by Buffalo, and some tough decisions at that.
If you had to pick one man that's out, who you think is out at this time? Who you think won't get extended?
If I had to pick right now, I would actually say I'd say Tremaine Edmonds, honestly. I'd say Tremaine Edmonds would be number one and Dawson Knox would be number two. The reason I say that is because nothing against either one of those players. They're very good players. But neither are elite at their position, and they kind of can be replaced. And nothing against Dawson. I think he's even getting better day by day, game by game. He's getting better. But are you going to commit the type of money that a tight end at his caliber or his athleticism is going to command? Because don't get me wrong, we saw guys like Austin Hooper get buku money on the free agent market. Look what Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry got. Jonnu Smith Henry got an open market last year from New England. So tight ends are they're very coveted right now. And a guy with his speed, his size, I don't know if Buffalo would be able to afford to bring him back, or would it be smart with Josh Allen? I don't know. Who you got?
I got to go Dawson Knox. Why? Because so many people got paid on the offense. I look at it that way. I think Dawson Knox is number one to be out. That's just me, because when you kind of look at it, it's a lot easier to replace him than it is Tremaine Edmonds. When I look at it that way. And also you got O.J. Howard. I'm a believer that I think O.J. Howard might be the future.
Right.
Not saying he's going to be all world, but if he has a solid season, you can sign him back to 2 years, $10 million. He's going to take it, right. and that dude, his potential is through the roof. His athleticism, you talk about Dawson Knox athletic, that dude a whole different level of athletic. If you want to talk about athletes, now he got to put it together and produce. Don't get me wrong. That's why he was a top 10 pick for a reason. He's had some injuries and other things going on. But if he could put it together here with everything we got going on offense, you may go with, sign him to 2 years, $10 million. Let's be honest, he's not gonna have a blowout season where he's gonna have some crazy stats, because you got Dawson Knox. Now, if Dawson Knox gets hurt again and he ball out while he's there, then he might price himself out of Buffalo. But I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch as the season unfolds.
No, it is. And that's why I say, some of these players, when you do talk about Tremaine Edmonds and we talk about extensions, Tremaine Edmonds' replacement is not on this roster yet. We can verify that. Jordan Poyer's replacement, I don't think, is on this roster right now. Dawson Knox has a replacement that's on this roster possibly. And I think that changes things when it comes to negotiations. Obviously, when people were scary about Stephon Diggs, as good as Gabe Davis may end up being, you need two receivers, possibly three in this league. There was no replacement for Stephon Diggs on this offense, and that's why he got his extension when he did. Let's just be realistic. That's why he got it. It's by necessity.
I honestly was in the camp that thought they might trade him after the season. I'm like, man, after this season, they may trade him because that number is scary. $30 million that's being passed out there. But I'm just happy that we worked it out. And you're right, man. We waited 20 years for a franchise quarterback, right? And we'd be doing him a disservice if we don't just fill that offense with just weapons. We have to. No matter what, you got to fill that offense with weapons to give him a chance. That's just what it is. And I think they're doing a good job of that.
That's why I'm not ruling out running back or receiver in the first round. I know, obviously, cornerback two is obvious need. But because of that statement you just made, and the fact that we have to pay people, you can never have enough offensive players because you have to have replacements on the roster for people who are going to depart because you cannot pay everyone. You just can't. And Brandon Beane has said it multiple times. But long story short, I'm happy that we got the Stephon Diggs deal done. I think you were right about something. You said a while back that you felt that the parameters of the Diggs deal was already pretty much in place.
Yeah, I think when a while ago.
Yeah, you did. You said it multiple times that you felt that the parameters already set, and it was just a matter of time. I think you're right because obviously when you look at the APY of that deal being like $21 million per year, it's going to make him actually the fourth highest paid receiver in the league, but it didn't put him over that tier where Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill are sitting because that's going to hurt those franchises at some point. Let's just be honest about it. Mm-hmm. It's going to hurt the franchise at some point. He didn't really hurt the franchise with this deal. It's a team-friendly deal. Like, don't get me wrong, $26 million, no small cheap piece of change, but it's not $26 million every single season. It's going to top out around 26, 27. So good deal for him. Good deal for Buffalo. I'm happy here. It's done. By the way, if you guys are watching the show, this is brought to you by Checkers. And if you are watching it on Twitter, retweet. If you're on YouTube, going to hit a like button, subscribe. On Facebook, like and share. So do all those things for us so other people can tune in every week. And don't forget, this is nothing personal, just Bills. And it is your Tuesday touchdown. Quick little announcement here before we move on to our next topic. I want to make sure that you guys are aware that former Bills receiver, our guy Stevie Johnson, Mr. Why So Serious, is actually having a camp at Highmark Stadium. I believe it's going to be, I'm going to it too, April 29th at Highmark Stadium. They got sponsored packages still available. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I believe that they're still taking registrations. So get over there and check it out at www.hbhf.com. So don't want to miss that. It's going to be a great camp ran by Stevie. Obviously, he's come back. He gets back to the community. So let's support our guy there. But moving on, obviously, the big story of the week, unfortunately, was the Jordan Poyer situation. Hiring, A, asking for a new extension. B, hiring Drew Rosenhaus. And if you guys know anything about Drew Rosenhaus, he is the definition of a shark. Two things that happen, I always say, when you get Drew Rosenhaus involved. Your player gets paid or he gets traded. Now, just a little bit of history on Mr. Drew. Drew was the agent for Terrell Owens with the whole Eagles and 49ers situation. Then he also was the agent for the Antonio Brown Pittsburgh Steelers situation. You getting my drift? Oh, yeah, let's not forget, he's also Tyreek Hill's agent who just got traded from Miami. So there's a little bit of a trend that follows Drew Rosenhaus, super agent Drew Rosenhaus. So obviously we got you in the building, James. We want to get your perspective as a player. And, I want to go over a little bit of numbers of Jordan Poyer and why he may be a little unhappy. But he hires Rosenhaus. He wants the extension. And then we'll talk about, obviously, his wife, Rachel Bush, getting on social media and expressing herself.
Where should I start, Jason? Where do you want me to start? I'm going to let you guide this one. So, the extension is fair. Has he outplayed his contract? Yes. This is my issue with it. And I'm a player's guy. I want players to get paid. I'm a player. Mm-hmm. You signed an extension. That's my problem. If you played out your existing contract with us, that's different. You agreed to sign the extension that still had you underpaid. You're still underpaid. Mm-hmm. So you mean to tell me you're going to sign an extension and then complain about the extension that you signed? I got a problem with that. Sometimes you got to bite the bullet. Like, you know what, man? It was a bad business decision by me. You know what? It's a wrap for. I respect it. It's a wrap for discounts next time around. I gotta get what I'm worth. I respect that. But when you sign that extension, you can't double back and say, well, I'm still underpaid. I want a new contract. I just don't agree with that. And this is the last year of his deal, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think it's other factors behind that. And we'll get more into that. I'm going to let you talk a little bit. But my thing is, once you sign that extension, it'd be different. That original 4-year deal he signed with us, right? Mm-hmm. If he was coming to the end of that and was like, hey, man, dude, this is the last year of that contract. I signed this in good faith. Think circumstances have changed. What's the deal? But
I mean,
you knew what the market was. You signed the still was underpaid. Then yes, it was a nice bump for you, but you knew what the numbers were. You knew what it was. You signed an extension. That's my issue. You can't come back now complaining about it. Like you just made a bad business decision. Period. You got to eat that.
no, I mean, it does come as an odd time. I know when our viewers Cody Wells said it comes as an odd time, and that's 100% true. It does come odd time, and it doesn't. It's not odd because he just watched the Bills get Von Miller 120 million, and he just watched Stephon Diggs get 104. And obviously, the natural jealousy in us as humans is gonna say, "Hey, well, where's mine? I just made all pro. Where's my money?" So I do want to give
it a little different, and not to cut you off, JT. While you
go
said
ahead.
that, kind of piggyback on that. I look at it a little different. I
Mm-hmm.
look at it as the timing wasn't as funky with those two reasons you gave. It's
Mm-hmm.
because the draft time is coming around. What happens during the draft? You trade players, you trade picks. So it wasn't. It's strategic. It was very
Okay.
strategic. They knew what they were doing. Think about it. Guys get traded around the draft. This is a hot time to trade people. You trade them.
This is a Rosenhaus move.
Rosenhaus is a very, very, very smart agent. If he's working for you, he's gonna get you what you want, one way or another.
May not be
He's a beast.
may not be in your best interest, right? Long term,
Financially, it will be. You gonna get paid. Think about
career
it.
wise.
He got AB out of Pittsburgh and got him was at 25 million. Well, he didn't act right for 3 more days, but he ended up getting him paid. You can't say you can't say any of his clients he didn't get paid. I mean, it may not be good for you on the field, like plan wise, your career and winning Super Bowls, but as far as financially, he gonna make sure he puts you in position to eat. And that's just a fact, So I think it's strategic. Like, listen, pay me, or hey, the draft is coming up, you can trade. That's
Yeah.
how I feel. Nobody said it, but I feel that way.
No, I mean, I think you're spot on. Obviously, I want to give you guys some numbers. I put this on my Twitter account, and I want you guys to listen to this. So, the average top five paid safeties in NFL from 2020 to 2022 versus Jordan Poyer's salary. Now, I think during this time period, we can all say if Jordan Poyer is not a top 5 safety, he's definitely top 7, and guaranteed to be in your top 10. But these are the numbers. In 2020, the average for the top 5 paid safeties were $14.2 million. Jordan Poyer's salary was 9.2, and I believe that was the first year of his contract extension here. 2021, average was 15.64 million. Poyer's salary was 6.85. And this year, going into the season in 2022, the top paid safety salaries on average is 15.62 million. Poyer is at 7.17. So if you ask me if he's grossly underpaid, oh, most definitely.
That's not a question. Anybody that say he's not, they're crazy.
Yeah, and don't say the cliche thing that people say and say, he makes more money than I do at my job. I can live off $1 million. It doesn't matter what you do at your job. It does not matter what you do at your job. This is his job, and you get paid off his peers, and his peers is making 15 million. So please don't say that. I get it, but I hate that statement. So please don't do that. He's grossly underpaid. I would love to see Brandon Beane be able to give him a little bit of a pay bump. Personally, I think with his age and his production now at this point, someone asked me on Twitter what did I think was a fair baseline for him in the Bills, because obviously you're not going to come out of pocket, and let's be honest, you're not going to come out of pocket, Brandon Beane, like, all right, listen, we're going to extend you 4 years, going to be 32 years old, and we're going to give you $15 million per year. That's just simply not going to happen. No. I think I saw somebody put on there yesterday a fair raise for Poyer, and I'm not going to say the name, was 3 years and $45 million with like $30 million guaranteed. No, it's not going to happen. Not at age 31. That's committing a lot. That's committing to a lot of money to a aging player. And I'm not saying his production is going to drop off. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that's a little much. I think a fair baseline would be about 3 years, $36 million with $24 million guaranteed. I think that's fair. That puts him at around $12 million per year. It's less than the top tier guys, but it's The $24 million, you're probably getting out most of all the guarantees out in the first 2 years. He's going to be sitting at 34 years old. Then at 35, if he hasn't slipped off, then you can make that decision as a team and say, hey, do I want to get off this deal or not? I think that would be a fair baseline. But going back to Drew Rosenhaus and my initial point that there's two things that happens with him. His player gets paid or he gets traded or both. They get traded, then they get paid by somebody else. Do I see a team committing that $15 million per year to Jordan Poyer? I don't see that. But can I see a team giving him an extension right now for like $12.5, $13 million per season? Absolutely. There's a few teams I can pinpoint. A team like Detroit, who's looking to change their culture around. A team like Jacksonville can afford to do it. They've already spent a whole bunch of money. Hell, they gave Christian Kirk $21 million. So I wouldn't put it past them. A team like Minnesota, who's looking to just kind of get over that playoff hump, could be contenders, maybe not. There's teams out there that'll be willing to do it. But this thing could get ugly. And I said, I'm with you, James. I like the err on the side with the players. That's the side I like to sit on. Because, like I said, end of the day, it's their livelihoods on the line every play they take to field. Mm-hmm. But I think that we have to be fair here. Do you really think there's a chance that he'd be traded before the draft or during the draft?
Absolutely. I definitely think so. I think it's more realistic than what people think. Will it guarantee it happen? No. Maybe he plays out the last year of his contract. I just think that if he's that unhappy, what you got going on this team, you don't need that in the locker room. And I'm not saying he will be a problem in the locker room. His personality doesn't strike me that way. We'll talk about what does. I don't like, but that's another. We'll get into that. But I think it's very possible that we could be traded. I mean, you can bring in a younger safety. You can bring in a free agent. You can draft a safety third round, sign a veteran a 1-year deal. I mean, Micah Hyde and that defense covers a lot of errors. I mean, then you can sign somebody that's a straight hitter to play in that box. You can find somebody that's bigger and coming through and just smacking people, and that will go great with how versatile Micah Hyde is. So it's
right.
And I don't want to say he's easily replaceable, but there are people that can come in and replace him. Let me say that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're wording that correctly. He's not easily replaceable, but he can be replaced. I mean, anybody can be replaced. Outside of your quarterback, your left end, as we've seen in Buffalo, outside of your quarterback, your left tackle, and the star defense end, and maybe elite middle linebacker, mostly everybody is somewhat replaceable, whether it's by multiple players, one player, or just scheme. I think Jordan Poyer can be replaced kind of by scheme. But like I said, I'll give it to him. He's played the best ball of his career. He's played the best ball of his career this last couple seasons, and he deserves to he deserves a raise. I just think it has to be fair. Do you think that at this point is him being 31 and going to the final year of his deal? Do you think he's looking more on the side of the money aspect or the long-term commitment?
Both, because God forbid if he gets hurt, whoever gonna pay him again? He's never going to get a payday. Right?
And he's been hurt like that once.
Yeah, so he looks at it a little bit different. So you got to look at it. So you're like, listen, this right now is the time for me to strike and get paid, because next year he won't get, no matter if he becomes a free agent or whatever, he's not going to get what he would right now. Period. He just won't. Whoever somebody will pay him now, he won't get that next year, unless it's a terrible team with a lot of cap room and it's throwing money out. Jacksonville, and that's not something he probably wants to do. But so now is the time to get paid. He's not a fool. He's a very smart individual. So he's going to make sure he puts himself in position to have generational wealth.
That's what I say. I think that a fair deal, if you had to ask me at this point in time, the Bills have found a way to create cap space. I think he's at $7 million this year. I think if you could get him to $12 million this season, which would be about a pay bump about $4.5 million, I think that's fair. I think if you get him to 12 this year and 12 next year, and then maybe the third year comes back down to 10, I think that's something that's affordable for the Bills cap. But then again, it's fair and it keeps a locker room leader. Let's be honest, Jordan Poyer is also a captain on this team. He's not just a good player; he's a captain. Which Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, especially Sean McDermott, he's not just gonna put that C on anybody.
Nope.
It's not for show. And it's not to make you feel good. It's for a reason. So I think that at some point they'll come to an agreement. I think another 2-year extension may be in play here. But then again, it wouldn't be surprising me if they moved him somewhere like Minnesota for like a 3rd round pick during the draft. It wouldn't surprise me. So, I mean, there's a lot of safeties in this draft this year. A lot of good safeties going to get pushed down in the draft. So the fact that there's so many other skill position players that are going to go ahead. So we'll see what happens. But I want to move forward and talk about Jordan's wife here, Rachel Bush. Obviously, you know, a lot of us know Rachel Bush as model, fitness queen. And she's been getting a lot of flack. You know, she's a person who's I've met multiple times. And I like Rachel. I think she's down to earth. I think she's cool. Cool as hell, honestly. But she's been speaking her mind on Twitter. We saw this a couple years ago before the first extension. And here we are again. James, I know you have a big problem with wives saying certain things about contracts and money or locker room issues on Twitter or social media. Was she out of line in what she said? Now, if you guys don't know what she said, she just said that Jordan and her, they love Buffalo, but she's not going to. They're not going to continue taking pay cuts while other people are getting paid. Now, mind you, this came right after the Von Miller and Stephon Diggs extension, so obviously that's what she's talking about. Was she out of line? And do you think that Jordan is using her as a mouthpiece in a way?
Let me speak on it from my perspective.
All right.
In the Mallory household, you'll be online. Yeah. Because I'm not going to go to your work, my significant other, my wife, or if I'm married or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to go to your work and tell your boss and talk about how you're underpaid and what you should get and what you shouldn't get. That you out of line. That's not your place. I wouldn't do that to you, so you're not going to do that to me. Mm-hmm. You're not going to go on social media. You're not going to say what I should or shouldn't. You know, that causes conflict in locker rooms. You know, that's a no-no. You know, your wife needs to stay out of the business part of football. You know, I love the fact that she supports her husband. That's awesome. You know, but there's certain things I just feel that, you know, aren't meant to be said. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just certain things that, you know, you got to stay in your lane. I'm pretty sure Jordan isn't doing her business deals. He's going and saying, oh, my wife is underpaid. Why she's employed? You know, why they're paying you? You're employed. He's not going there. You need to pay her more. You need to. I'm pretty sure he's probably not doing that. So I don't think she should be doing it. Uh-huh. And you know, if she feels that way, that's fine, and I respect it. We all agree that he's underpaid, but I don't understand why is that necessary to announce to the world and for you to do that. Uh-huh. If he has an agent, he could say it. You know, so I just think that she's completely out of line with those. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying she's wrong. What she's saying is wrong, but how she said it and how she presented it is wrong. That's just my opinion. There's just certain things that won't be done. You know, like when I played pro football, if I was married, I would have a conversation with my wife. Baby, I got this. We got this. We got people that are paid to do this. My agent's paid to take care of these matters. We're not, and I'm a private dude anyway, but we're not going to the social media. We're not doing that. So, nah.
Okay, so I'm a little indifferent on this, right? So I don't have going through those numbers I gave you guys about the top 5 pay safeties and where Jordan is at. I don't have a problem with her actually saying, and the reason I don't is because I believe that. Somebody asked it do we believe that Jordan's speaking through her? And if you ask me to answer that, I'm going to say 110% yes. He is. He's using her as a mouthpiece. It's almost like he's using her as a burner account. In a way. Just the difference between his wife and other people's wives is other people's wives don't have 1 million followers. So that's the biggest difference. You know, if his wife had 3,000 followers on Twitter, I don't think that she'd be saying this. It wouldn't matter. But the fact that she does have the following that she has, he's using her as a mouthpiece. This is the second time around. So you can't tell me after the first time around, she did it a couple years back and he got his attention, that it was not him. The first time I said, okay, maybe she was just speaking out. The second time, I think it obviously it's both of them because that money's coming to the whole household. Let's be honest. That the whole household is eating off this money right here. He's okay with her doing it. He's actually, I'm not gonna say he's sending her to do it, but he's not saying, hey, baby, you should take that down. I think he's endorsing it. It's a smart play. And honestly, to be honest with you, with the shark that they just hired, Drew Rosenhaus, he may be having her do it.
It's smart business wise.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be dudes in the locker room that's not feeling that. That's my problem.
Right.
We talking that creates conflict, man. Because now you allowing your wife to dip into business affairs, right? And then on top of that, you mentioned Micah Hyde naming it. Micah Hyde might not have a problem with his contract. You know what I mean? Micah Hyde, like, yo, why are you putting me in it? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that I got a major issue with what she did. You know, and that's just me.
That part I have an issue with. You don't bring anybody else into it. That I agree with. Micah Hyde's name should have never been mentioned at all. If you and your husband want a new contract, that's fine. Go for it. Go get it. Go eat. But I
enough to speak on who's underpaid and who's not. You can't just look in a magazine or look who made something and say, oh, they're underpaid. Does she? And I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm throwing this out there. Does she know enough about the sport to speak on who's underpaid and who's not?
And
you got to be knowledgeable of it to speak on that too.
I know a lot of people are saying, well, why isn't he speaking of himself? He shouldn't have her do it. Because smart business wise, again, if he does that, he puts it on Twitter or anywhere, he's coming at his franchise. That's a very bad look before you get to another franchise. If anything, some teams say, hey, listen, man, we want to pay you when I bring you in, but we don't want your wife to be doing what she did when you were in Buffalo. He could easily say, okay, I'm sure that will not happen. But it's a lot more difficult to say, well, I know I said these things. So I think it's all a business play. I think they know exactly what they're doing, and they may get what they want, or they may not get what they want. They may get the money they want, or Brandon Mee may Bill Belichick him and send him somewhere in purgatory to just play out the last 3 or 4 years of his career on a nice paid deal, but no chance of winning. And Jordan Poyer doesn't strike me as a guy who plays this game to lose. Doesn't strike me as that guy at all. He's came too far to play this game for just financial reasons. The Bills have been too close to the Super Bowl for him to continue to play his game for just financial reasons. But end of the day, like I said, I think you have to weigh both sides. I do believe he's using her as a mouthpiece. I do believe she's wrong for mentioning Micah Hyde. But honestly, in 2022, I kind of get the business tactic. And I think Drew Rosenhaus has a lot to do with it. Smart or foul, we'll see. We will see coming in a couple weeks here. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that because obviously this is the biggest news out of Buffalo. This is the first contract dispute it seemed like that this regime is getting into, and we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah, I think the way Drew Rosenhaus handled it publicly was great. To say that, hey, we approached the Bills. He'll let us stay in Buffalo. Basically saying the ball is in the Bills' court. I'm fine with that. Rachel Bush, she got a line.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's just that's how I feel. Like that's not for you to speak on. You love your husband, you support your husband. That's awesome. But in my opinion, she's wilding.
No. I mean, like I said, it's a lot of different takes on this, man. And like I said, I no ill feelings to Rachel Bush because one thing I can say about Rachel and Jordan, if they even based Bills Mafia like no tomorrow, since arriving here in Buffalo, and they're out in the public, they do stuff so that they're not just they're just not sitting at home in Florida counting money. They're actually doing stuff and doing positive things here in Buffalo, and actually being with the fans.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, they're a great fit. I hope I hope it's worked out. Obviously, we don't want to see him go, but I'm looking at it from a business standpoint. I'm mad Jabril Pepper signed because he would have been the perfect dude to go back there. Dude,
yeah.
Him and Micah Hyde back there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And he got a little size with him, and he'll bring that hardware. He'll step up and hit something. And he's very versatile. So.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just something that I thought about with Poyer and Rachel. But I mean, hopefully this gets resolved and it gets resolved fairly quickly. But there was some other news this week here in Buffalo. Obviously, the Bills re-signed tackle guard Bobby Hart. And I know a lot of fans were not happy with the Bobby Hart re-signing. So today he's going to be your segment of bad takes from you, the public. Bad takes, if you are new to the show, is where we crop out tweets, comments, shares from other fans. And sometimes they just completely out of line and just not very nice. So Bobby Hart is your segment of bad takes tonight. And let's get going. Bad take, Bobby Hart edition, number 1. Please let this be a late April Fool joke. Why does he keep coming back? He sucks. Come on. Bad take, number 2, Bobby Hart. It's like a wart that keeps growing back. Called the man a wart? Seriously? A wart? Come on. Bad take, number 3. Is this Groundhog Day? Seriously, he shouldn't be paying the team out now. They saying Bobby Hart should be paying the Bills to play. That's come on, people. You know, I hope Bobby don't see this. Ain't very nice. Bad take number 4. I seen a person the quarter of his weight with no arms block more people than him, and they were blind. They said a blind person can block better than Bobby Hart. Bad take number 5 and final take. Best take of the night that we chose. James, drum roll, please. Bad take number 5. I think Bean enjoyed cutting his ass so much the first time that he brought him back just to do it again. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Enjoy yourself, Bean. You deserve it.
Oh, man.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. Bring him back to cut his ass again. I don't know. All I know is people were not happy at all about Bobby Hart coming back. But I'm going to say one thing about Bobby here. One thing about Bobby is this. He has a ton of starting experience. And obviously with the new practice squad rules, to keep a guy like him on your practice squad is actually very valuable.
Yeah, I don't understand why people are knocking the signing so bad. It's not like we signed him to start 16 games, 17 games. I don't understand why people so tripping about it. You know what I mean? Like, they're not signing him to start or play significant snaps. What's the big deal? He's competing for a roster spot. I mean, the man started 60 games in the NFL. He's better than the worst right tackle I've ever seen in my life is Jordan
Mills.
I mean, Bills fans talking all this nonsense, but was okay with us rolling Jordan Mills out. Like, I ain't gonna say it was okay with it. I mean, that dude was awful. So, I mean, I'm cool with him competing for a roster spot. I mean, he's not going to be the starting right tackle. I mean, what's the
no.
What's the big deal? I don't understand why people are tripping for.
God forbid something happened to Spencer Brown. Before the trade down, the Bills would do something to fix that. Believe you me, they're not going to just sit there and just let it be. But either way, that was our bad takes of the night, Bobby Hart edition. You guys treat Bobby with some kindness, man, you know? But obviously, we want to get to the last topic of the night, and that is obviously the tragic news of Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins dying at the age of 24. Obviously, there are still circumstances that's unknown of kind of what happened and why it happened, but he was hit on a highway in Florida on his way to the airport to go back to Pittsburgh, and he died, unfortunately. I think that this is a good time and a good opportunity to actually talk about how we view athletes and how we treat our athletes. You know, obviously, these guys go out, they don't perform all the time like they should. Sometimes they come up a little short. Sometimes they make mistakes, you know. But end of the day, it's their job. It's a job, just like you have a job. And I doubt that anybody on here, and including myself, I don't go to work and perform great every single day. Probably not even half the time, you know. So, I mean, we have to be a little bit better with our athletes. Now, obviously, Adam Schefter released a tweet where he did throw in a part in there about he was struggling to catch on with Pittsburgh and Washington. Didn't matter. It shouldn't have been in there. It was totally disrespectful, but it was definitely nowhere near as bad as Gil Brandt's comments. And I actually have that clip because normally we don't play clips on here too much, but I am going to play this one because I just felt this to be absolutely disgusting. I thought it was disgusting, and I pray that Gil Brandt in his heart does not truly feel this way. I do pray that he's 90 years old. He just kind of loses it a little bit, and he made some bad, horrible comments. But this is it, and we're going to play it for you.
Well, Dan, I hate anytime anybody is killed or anybody dies. But he was a guy that was living to be dead, so to speak. They told him don't, under any circumstances, leave school early. You just don't have the work habits. You don't have this. You don't have that. What did he do? Left school early. I always can remember this. We invited players to the draft, and he was one of the players we invited to the draft. And we were told no. We're going to have our own party. His own party was a party at the bowling alley. Charged him $50 to get into the bowling alley for his party. It was always something, It's one of those things. I'm never offside, but they keep calling me for offside. Is what it is. So, it's a tragic thing. Anytime anybody dies, it's tragic. And especially when you're 24 years old and you got your whole life ahead of you. But maybe if he'd have stayed in school a year, he wouldn't do silly things. I mean, when you're jogging on the highway.
Okay, we cut it off there because there's no point of going any further with that. This 24-year-old kid just lost his life. What does it matter if he didn't take your scouting advice and chose to come out and chose not to stay in school an extra year? What does it matter if he didn't live up to the performance standards you have? What does it matter if he didn't come to your dinky ass draft party? No one wanted to do your draft. He had his own party like most players do. Who cares if he had a bowl and he charged $50? What does any of that matter? And that's the problem. That's the world that we live in right now. We live in a world where we look at these guys as just athletes. And if they're not getting us 30 points, the 30 points we need in our fantasy team to win our fantasy game, that's not real, then we hate them. If they're not helping us win Super Bowls, then we hate them. They're human beings. It's disgusting. It's awful. I mean, when I heard that, it almost brought a tear to my eye how disgusting it was. Who cares? Then you'll call them foolishness for running on the highway. We don't even know what happened. We do know there was some type of car issues. Yes, he made a mistake and it cost him his life, unfortunately. But this was a guy who was training with teammates trying to catch a flight back to his job the next morning. You got to be kidding me.
I'm heartbroken over the whole situation. I messed up my day. When I got the news that he passed away, it broke my heart. Then how he passed away, it hurt even more. I heard the story about what happened. Um, it's messed up. And Gil, I'm not even gonna speak on him. He's not even worth the comments. That's the first time I've ever heard that. When I heard what he was saying, I'm not even gonna give him the time of day. Not worth it. So I'm gonna move on from that. Adam Schefter. I mean, how insensitive you got to be, right? Now, if we talk about whatever medical issues, whatever issues he had when he was slurring words live on TV, if we speak on that, we out of line. We wrong. We're insensitive. We don't know what's going on. He may be dealing with mental issues. Whatever the case may be, whatever he's dealing with, people respected that. He didn't lose his job. He didn't, better lose his life, and we all look past that. People say they thought he was drunk on live TV. He was slurring his words, but we don't know what it could have been. But he wanted everybody to respect his privacy and respect him in that moment. And I believe everybody did and gave him the benefit of the doubt, right? And if somebody was to roast him about that or go at him about that on a news network, he probably would want him suspended, right? I'm pretty sure he would want him
Of
suspended.
course.
He would get some type of discipline. I'm just, I just, I don't get why it wasn't. I don't know that maybe they fined him or something like that. I'm not sure. It was a clown move, a clown tactic, in my opinion. And often fans do look at football players as like objects, unfortunately. Um, you know, once they stop playing football, the world usually forget about you, in regards to a lot of things. That's why so many football players that commit suicide. And so many players that's going through just so much and they feel alone because I could speak on it. I come out of practice with the Buccaneers. I come out to 200 and something text messages. And when 2-3 weeks after you cut from the team and you home, you don't get that many texts in a day. You know what I'm saying? People ain't gonna check on you, if you're not on the team, and it's sad, and that's why a lot of pro athletes don't trust people. You know what I mean? Because of that reason. People are not all people, but a lot of people show you just a different side of people. And I've had this talk. My friends and my people that's really close to me are the same people I've been cool with before I even played pro football, down to pro football. All my they my brothers. My best friend. I'm in his wedding this summer. Been my guy since we was 11 years. That's my right hand man, my brother. We've been cool since 11. And it is just crazy how they're looked at. Like, you can really say that about somebody who lost their life. I mean, it's sad, man. It's sad. It's just, man. You wonder why these football players and these athletes are a-holes. Those people are why. They can't trust people. Look, they talking about somebody that passed away, just lost his life at 24 years old, tragically. And who knows if it was his fault? Who knows? The truck may have swerved and hit him. We don't know. So for us to speak on it is ridiculous, in regards to saying it was his fault. I just, man, I just hate it, man. It crushed me, man. And forget football, man. I don't care about the football part. His mom and dad lost him. His wife lost him.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's something that I think that's not talked about enough, and I think that sometimes positives come out of negatives, and I think that obviously the scrutiny that Brandt has received and Schefter is going to receive, and they're going to receive this for quite a while, and the lack of trust they're going to receive. I hope that the positive that comes out of this is that we start to look at these athletes as human beings, as our brothers, as our sisters, as fathers, as grandfathers, as children, before we start looking as athletes. You wonder why these athletes cuss people out when they say, I don't give a F about your fantasy team. You know why they say that and stuff like that? And then they get screenshotted. It's like, oh, such and such cussed out this kid, this 13-year-old kid, on Instagram about his fantasy team. You know why? Because you're not the only person that's saying you made me lose my fantasy game. This person just probably had a bad day at their job, just like you do. And just like that, when you go home after a bad day at work, maybe you're road raging. Maybe you're yelling at your kids. Maybe you're yelling at your wife. Maybe you're yelling at your husband. Maybe you're not answering the phone to somebody. Maybe you don't want to be bothered. But because they're athletes, they always have to be available to you. They have to be available, and they have to be readily smiling for you, as if they don't have real life problems. I think that people go under this umbrella in thinking that as long as you're rich and as long as you have money, and mind you, I want to make sure you guys know that all athletes are not rich. All professional sport players are not rich. Okay? Not everyone is rich. That if you have money, it cures everything. We've seen this through the tale of time. that can mean absolutely nothing. You could have everything and have nothing at all. I'll tell you that again. You can have everything and have nothing at all. And vice versa. So like I said, my heart goes out to the Haskins family. And when you start hearing that his teammates and his coaches speaking, guys like Mike Tomlin and Claypool and Roethlisberger and some of those teammates in Washington, about just the person he was. Who cares if he didn't live up to be what you want him to be on the football field? That doesn't matter. Football is a small part of life. It's a slim part of life. It's huge for these guys because it's what they live to do. It's what they love to do. But for us, it's a slim part of life. We don't have to turn TV on ever and watch a game, and it wouldn't matter.
And let me clarify that, JT. Not everybody that play football love it. Because I'll put it like this: you may be great at your job, right? But you don't love it. You're great at what you're doing to feed your family. So that's what you do. That's your job, right? That's your career. Everybody that has a career don't love that. They would love to probably be doing something else. But they just happen to be elite football players that's getting compensated pretty well for it. And I don't know what people just think like they supposed to just eat football 24/7. And I say it all the time, like, what's your motivation, right? And being in the NFL, everybody has a different motivation. My motivation was different than the next man's. Each person on the right and left of me, motivation is different. Some people's motivation was to be a millionaire. My motivation, obviously, I wanted to be rich and be able to help and support my family, of course. But my motivation is I wanted to be great. I wanted to be a great football player. Like, I gave a damn about the other stuff. I wanted to be great. I wanted my name to be forever remembered for being the truth. Like, I step on the field, I'm so nice that people say, yo, it ain't even fair he showed up to the game, right? So that means I worked my ass off every single day. I wasn't good enough to take a day off. None of us are good enough to take a day off. That means the competition is catching up with you. So a lot of guys' motivation is just the money. It's not to be great. So once you get the money, right, what's your motivation now? That's why you have your Albert Hainsworths. That's why you have the guys like this. Once they get that money, where's the motivation? What was you got $100 million? What motivates you to do what you keep doing now? The money's there. What's your motivation now? So I just wanted to clarify that everybody don't love it. Everybody play the game for different reasons. I played for my family. I'm representing my family. I love the game. I made sure every time I stepped on the field, made my grandma and grandpa proud, my mom and dad proud. My younger brother look up to me. I represent the Buffalo Vets Little League where I came from. I represent Kenmore West High School where I went. I wanted all them people to be like, I'm representing them. So I played for much more than James Mallory. I played for a whole bunch, but everybody don't approach it like that. I know we're getting a little off topic, but, it just hurts me how fans look at players sometimes, how they talk about them. You know what I mean? And it's like, you talk about these people like they don't have feelings, like they're not human. You can't just say whatever you want and don't expect consequences. Now, somebody come slap the dog, out of one of them. Now they want to press charges and now they want to backpedal. You know what I'm saying? These are human beings. You know what I'm saying? Like, my pops wasn't going for it. You know what I mean? It's certain, you could say, oh, he would laugh at games. They say, oh, Mallory sucked. And I have 280 yards. He cracking up. But it's a line that crossed, he'd turn into a gorilla. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I'm his son. And these people are loved by somebody. You keep running your mouths on Twitter going to get you jacked up. Right. So, and people, they love to hide behind that. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole bunch of tough people that can do this. A whole bunch of them. You know what I'm saying? But, back to Dwayne Haskins, man, it's just, my prayers out to his family. I'm sick about it. Like, I'm sick, JT.
I hear you. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, you never want to see somebody lose their life, especially at that age and the way he did. He had a lot of life to live. And when you think about it, this is the man now. He was just married. I believe he's married for a couple of years now. I don't think he has any kids, just a man who he won't get the opportunity to have that now. It's going to be a lot of opportunities missed with his death, and I think that's what we need to look at. And the biggest opportunity was just football. That was just his job, and he just happened to be really good at it to get paid a lot of money at it. But that's not who Dwayne Haskins was.
Way more than that. And who knows? He might have been great.
You never know. Things have happened, So either way, I wanted to touch on that, and I just want to everybody to really just think about it, as we go into the football season, we get closer and closer, and as you guys are drafting your fantasy teams and you're watching these games, watch what you say on social media. If you want to talk about their performance, then that's okay. That's in line if you want to talk about the performance, but don't make it personal, because you don't even know the person behind under the helmet a lot of times. Sometimes these guys, you will walk right by them in public and you won't know who they are. Because you don't see them, you don't know what they look like sometimes outside the helmet, So don't make it personal. If you want to criticize the performance, that's fine. I mean, they sign up for that, but don't hop in their DMs and talk about what they didn't do for your fantasy football team, or they suck, or talk about their mother, or talk about their family members. It's not worth it.
And people that say that how you gonna say a pro athlete sucking? You don't have 500 career yards. I don't understand people like that. They was bums when they played, or didn't touch
if they played.
If they even played, was ass. But you wanted to call a professional athlete bad? But you can't run and chew bubble gum at the same time? You got a lot of nerve. Got a lot of nerve.
You can't run it. No, it's true, So I just want to ask people, just be a little kinder to our athletes. Just be kinder. They're people, they're humans. And in me, in this profession, and obviously this is just podcasting for me, I do get to meet a lot of these players. I do. I've got to meet a lot of players. And some of these guys are so smart financially. Some of them are photographers. Some are actors. Some are models. They're a lot more than football players. And don't rob yourself of some point possibly having a conversation with them, because there's so much you can get out of them. So much more you can get out of them than a fantasy football championship or a Super Bowl ring as a Super Bowl championship bragging rights as a fan. Because that's all it is. Really is bragging rights. You ain't getting much more than that. You ain't getting a ring or no bonus money, anything like that. Let's be a little bit kinder to these guys and let this Dwayne Haskins situation highlight that. Because a lot of these players, they're not standing for anymore. If you see how these players came at Gil Brandt, Adam Schefter, some of these old retired players who are now colleagues to Adam Schefter and Gil Brandt, they're not standing for it. And it's for a damn good reason, because it's unnecessary. But either way, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I want to thank my guest, James Mallory, as always. Thanks for coming on and dropping those dimes, man. And we will catch you. We may catch you next Tuesday. I know a lot of people are asking me to do a draft special, and we will see. I might do it. We'll see. I might do a draft special. I don't know. I haven't done it in a couple years since I left, I think, BF. But we'll see what happens. But other than that, guys, thank you for tuning in. And I tell you what, if no more news happens this week, I'm taking the week off. I'm taking the week off. I've been saying it for weeks. I'm taking a week off if no news happens, but knowing our luck, something's going to happen. Hopefully it's something good with the bringing players and no one's leaving. But don't forget, Stevie Johnson camp, April, let me make sure I got this date right. April 30th, actually April 30th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Highmark Stadium. You want to check out at www.hbhf.com. And I think it's only right to in this show with I'm in the show with silence for our guy Dwayne Haskins, and take my hat off to him, and I think that's the proper thing to do. Sorry for want to send condolences to his family, and I am so sorry for his loss, and that he seems like a good human being from the people that described him, and be nice to our guys. Dwayne Haskins, my man, rest in peace.